95.3 The Bear, Bama's best country. It's Monk, and in studio with me right now, Paula Nelson. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Monk.
Sure. Thank you for coming by. Your first time in Tuscaloosa, what do you think?
I love it. It's gorgeous.
And you went to eat last night?
De Palmas.
What'd you have?
Lasagna.
Lasagna. They've got,
oh my God,
as crazy as it sounds, they've got a walnut gorgonzola pizza. Oh my goodness, it's one of the best pizzas I've ever put in my mouth. So, but anyways, let's talk about music. You're opening tonight for Willie and Merle at the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater.
Yes.
What time do you guys get started?
We get started at 7 to 7:30.
Okay. All right. So I'm not going to be able to get through this interview without asking some questions about your dad. You grew up Willie's daughter. How was that? Was that like the coolest thing in the world? Because I think like country music royalty, if I had to pick, one or two or three people to grow, and he'd be one of them,
You know what? He is so cool and always has been so cool. And all of his friends, growing up were like uncles to me, but they were Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and Leon Russell and all of those guys who were so cool. And I didn't realize they were more like uncles, like I said, so I didn't realize how amazingly cool they were until I got old enough to really appreciate their music, number one, because I was just a kid running around and I didn't know that everybody else's parents weren't doing the same thing, I didn't know it was different than anyone else's, so once I began to really go, oh my God, those guys are so good. When I started playing music myself, it really was a big awakening of, wow, those guys are the coolest, and I grew up with them, so it's
pretty
great.
amazing. Is there like one story from growing up with all those guys that really stands out to you?
When I was probably, Waylon Jennings, of course, was, always one of my dad's best friends, and so we saw him a lot, of course, in all of the Highwaymen, but one of my favorite stories was Waylon had a drummer named Richie Albright at the time for many, many years, and I would see Waylon, and I was probably 5 or 6, and he'd run up and he'd pick me up and he'd say, "Who's number one?" And I'd say, "You are." And I'd kiss him on the lips, and I'd hug him, and then I'd run off with my mom, and then we'd see Richie Albright coming. Richie Albright would pick me up and say, "Who's number one?" And I'd kiss him on the lip and say, "You are." My mom said I'd see them both coming and take off the other direction.
Because you were scared they were
Not
both going to ask you the same question.
I can't choose between the two.
Well, that's pretty cool.
They were all wonderful guys growing up. And this is, the new CD that we're working on is called Under the Influence. And it's based on, paying homage to a lot of those guys that were such a great influence, including my father. And it's these great old songs that were hits, but some of them, were kind of behind. They weren't side B possible, hits that this generation doesn't necessarily have heard possibly. So it's nice to kind of reintroduce those songs and put my own interpretation on it.
Is that where the duet with your dad, Have You Ever Seen the Rain, is that where that comes from? Because I know that video's floating out there on your website.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Actually, we had recorded it also on my CD, the last one, Little City, and then we re-recorded it for the duet CD that my dad currently has out.
To all the girls?
Yeah, to all the girls. So it was an honor to also record it on his CD. And we changed it. It's just a different recording. It was my band on my CD, and it's his band on that CD. But it's a huge honor to be a part of it. But the other songs on it are on my up-and-coming CD are like "I Never Cared for You" is a great song. My dad's, And so that's kind of what that CD is going to be about.
So growing up with that in that family, when did you, I guess, first realize that you wanted to sing and make that your life's work?
We used to do it when we were little all the time. We would get up on stage during the gospel portion of my dad's show and sing Will the Circle Be Unbroken and Amazing Grace, and we'd wear Donnie and Marie wigs because at the time that show was really big, and so my sister would be Donnie. I'd make her wear the boy wig because I wanted the long black flowing wig.
Sure.
Anyway, so we would start out there, and then that, of course, got kind of silly. We grew up and out of that, but we would still sing the gospel portion without the wigs on the show. And then I'm 4 years older than my sister's Amy, and so I kind of thought I didn't really. You get to an age where you don't really want to be seen with either one of your parents, no matter what they do.
Yeah.
I was 13, 14, and I wanted to not be, you know, up on stage singing. And so it wasn't until I was probably in my early 20s and karaoke came out, and that was the big thing. And so I figured I could test the waters in front of drunk people.
Yeah.
At karaoke bars.
See, I was always one of those people that, you know, was sitting in the crowd drunk, and I'd get up and always bust out a Johnny Cash track or something like that. So.
See, it's courage. It was definitely liquid courage.
Exactly.
And karaoke courage.
So tell me a little bit about your band. You guys have been together since early 2000s, right?
Yeah, almost 10 years.
Wow, cool.
That, you know, this band, and we've really been touring pretty seriously within the last 4, you know, consistently. But it's been 10 years, almost 10 years that we've all been together. Lindsay, the bass player, is the newest addition, and he's been with us by almost 3 by now.
Okay. So what about a show from you guys? What can we expect from a Paula Nelson band?
They are wonderful musicians, each and every one of them. So they play really well together, and we're all friends, you know, on stage and off stage, and so the chemistry is there, and it's definitely, you know, we play the same show, whether it's 10 people or 10,000, and we have a really good time, and I think that comes across on stage to the crowd, and therefore it kind of, they can't help but have a good time too.
Well, that's cool. Well, hopefully you'll be playing to a lot of folks tonight, because I think it's right near a sellout.
Oh,
I'm not sure, I mean, it may sell out. This is kind of a last minute town, college money, everybody's waiting to see the night of the show. We're going to have enough money to go. So, so you've got new music coming out. When
I
can
would
we
say
expect
by December or January, the latest, we'll have that out.
Okay, and you want to plug your website, because I know the other music is available there.
Oh, yeah, it's on iTunes or CD Baby and PaulaNelsonBand.com. You can see our website and all of our upcoming schedules as well.
Okay, and then for everybody watching this online, I'll have that listed at the bottom of this page. So, Paula Nelson, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for coming by the studio, and have fun tonight. Enjoy Tuscaloosa.
You got it. Thanks so much.